So, hello everyone. Welcome back. My name is Liz. If you don't know me, I am the ginger introvert, as you may well see, and I love to read. And so today, I'm going to be showing you all the books that I'm hoping to read in the winter of 2021. So, I don't know how long this video is going to be, so grab yourself a tea like I have done, or grab yourself some coffee or wine or whatever you would like, and maybe a snack too, who knows. And yeah, I'll walk with you what I'm hoping to read in this winter. And I will say, it says, Merry Christmas, Dad. Neither is it Christmas time, nor am I a dad, but nevertheless, I am wishing all the dads Merry Christmas. Before we start, I will say, as you may have seen in my last video, I am planning on making more book content this year. I love books, I love reading, and I love talking about books and reading. So what I would like to do is I do want to make TBR videos, but I don't think I will be able to do them monthly like a lot of other people do on YouTube. Just because I'm a very slow reader, I like to take my time, I am easily distracted. I take a very long time to finish a book typically, especially with how long the book is or how complicated the language is. And by no means is it a deterrent. I still love to read, but I think if I were to make TBR and wrap-up videos for the month, it would be like 2-3 books, not your typical, like some people read 20 books in a month, and I'm like, how do you do it? It's amazing, don't get me wrong, but I'm jealous. It's incredible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you everything I want to read this winter. So I'm thinking basically until the end of March or April, I'll probably film a wrap-up or something like that, tell you what I actually did read. So basically 3 or 4 months worth of reading. And also I would like to say I'm a big mood reader. I may read some of these, I may read not as many of these, may not read any of these, because I'm not a big planner when it comes to reading, at least not right now in this season of my life. I like just kind of going with the flow, but these are the books that I'm most excited about, and I really do hope I get to reading and telling you my thoughts and my reflections. So without further ado, I would love to share those titles with you. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Just Kids by Patti Smith. This has been on my want to read sort of list for years and years. I've had this on my bookshelves ever since I was a teenager, maybe when I was a freshman in college, but certainly this has been waiting for me to read it for a really long time, and I finally think I'm in the season of my life where I am ready for it. And if you don't know, Patti Smith is at least to my knowledge, maybe I'm wrong, correct me down in the comments nicely if I am, but Patti Smith is a rock and roller. She makes music. She is also a writer and a poet, and she is just amazing, and I love her, and I love following her online. And I also really have enjoyed the music that I have listened to of her. And this book is really about her coming of age story, and I think it is also about her friendship with her, I thought he was a bandmate, I'm not 100% sure, a very close friend, Robert Mapplethorpe, and their relationship, their friendship, and talking about how they grow up together, I'm pretty sure. And I love memoirs, I love essays and stories, and her writing is just so magical. I've actually already listened to about the first 30 pages, listening along with an audiobook, as I like to do. So gosh, and as you'll come to learn if you don't already know, I listen along to audiobooks most of the time when I read, and it's just something I like to do, and I've had this habit since I was in college, and I just love the way she reads. The audiobook that I found on Scribd, I'm pretty sure it's narrated by her. She's just wonderful. I love hearing her voice. I love her style of writing, and I'm so excited about this book. So that's Just Kids. And then the next one is The Berry Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro, if I'm pronouncing that right. This book, though I don't know much about it, it is described to be set in post-Arthurian Britain. The wars that once raged between the Saxons and the Britons have finally ceased. Axel and Beatrice, an elderly British couple, set off to visit their son, whom they haven't seen in years. And because a strange mist has caused mass amnesia throughout the land, they can scarcely remember anything about him. And, oh my gosh, I have read not much of Kazuo Ishiguro. I read his novel Remains of the Day when I was a sophomore in college. But everything else, like that book that I read by him, it was just so magical and so well written, and it's still one of my favorite books that I read when I was completing my degree. I still think about it so often. It's one of those books where it still kind of like haunts me to this day. So, and I just remember loving his writing style. I'm so excited to read another Kazuo Ishiguro book. Maybe it's not fair to say he's one of my favorite authors, even though I've only read one of his books, but I admire him so much, and I'm excited to read this book too. And how cool is this cover? I love the ancient tree. It's very magical. The next book are The Tombs of Atuan by Ursula Le Guin, and I read this is the second installment of her trilogy, or how is it worded? The Earth Sea Cycle. And this is the second book. I read the first book last year and I loved it. It was so magical, so beautifully written, very simple too. She's such a concise writer in comparison to Tolkien and other fantasy writers, and also a good comparison to Robert Jordan, who I also read last year, and also hint to another book that's coming up in this video. But I just loved her style of writing in the first book, and it looks like the second book is about a different character completely. It kind of follows different characters in their lives throughout the series, and they all kind of come together in different ways. So I'll read the synopsis. When the young Tenar is chosen as high priestess to the ancient and nameless powers of the earth, everything is taken away: home, family, possessions, even her name. For she is now Arha, the Eaten One, guardians of the ominous tombs of Atuan. While she is learning her way through the dark labyrinth, a young wizard, Ged, comes to steal the tomb's greatest hidden treasure, the ring of Erith Akbi. When Ged also brings with him the light of magic, and together he and Tanar escape from the darkness that has become her domain. I feel like I didn't read that last sentence right, but I think you get the hint. The first book of this series, The Earth Sea Cycle, is actually about Ged, his coming-of-age story as a sorcerer, and I'm really excited. I'm hoping this may be another kind of coming-of-age story for Tanar or Arha. Maybe I'll try to finish this series this year and let you know my final thoughts, but judging by the first book, I have really high hopes for the Tombs of Atuan. Okay. Oh, so much better. I had to go get cough drops. I swear, I'm not sick. I've just been talking way too much today. And so I've edited all of it out by now, but like every book has been broken up by like a coughing fit. So I'm gonna have to have some of these while I talk about the rest of these books. I don't know what's wrong with me. Next up is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I'm so excited about this book. I read it when I was doing my senior capstone course when I was completing my degree. I remember really enjoying this book, but I also remember that semester was so extremely just loaded with hundreds and hundreds of pages of reading per week. It was one of my most busy semesters, and I remember ripping through this book and I barely remember any of it, and I remember thinking how beautiful it was. And I've since lent this copy to my fiance and one of our friends, and they have talked about how much they love this book so much at my recommendation, and I just want to reread this, refresh my memory. I remember this just being so delightful. So I'm curious to see how I feel about it 3 years later. I expect to adore it just as much as I did back then, but I'm excited to give you my updated thoughts. As I mentioned briefly, or as I hinted to before, The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan. This is also the second book in his Wheel of Time series. His great, gigantic, it is a 14-book series that Robert Jordan and later Brandon Sanderson finished for him because the series was so long. Robert Jordan died before he could actually finish this series himself. I'm so excited to read this. Maxwell actually finished the series just at the end of the year, last year, maybe in November, I forget exactly when, but he has so many good things to say about this. And I read the first book, The Eye of the World, last year around this time, almost exactly this time actually, and I remember, I had never been a huge fantasy reader before I started reading this series. I just have so much to thank for this series because it got me into fantasy. It really it's such a cozy book. I love all the different adventures that these characters get up into. It is sort of like a chosen one sort of trope book and series. I actually already started this book. I am 158 pages in, and it's a honker. Look at that. I think it's like 700 pages. 681 pages. So it's a very short amount, but I started this pretty soon after I finished The Eye of the World last year, but I still remember pretty clearly what happens in the beginning of this book, so I'm picking up where I left off, and I don't think I'm going to be finishing this series anytime soon, but I'm excited for, as I continue on in my life to pick up the next Wheel of Time book here and there as I go along, and I'm excited for this one. I recently signed up for Scribd, which is a service that you pay for monthly and you get access to different books and audiobooks. And so I did find a couple that I would really like to read that I may try to read this month. First is Bluets by Maggie Nelson. You probably can't see the cover very well with the screen, but oh my gosh, this looks so cool. I don't think it's poetry, it just looks like a collection of thoughts about the color blue. It is written by, I think Maggie Nelson could possibly be an art historian, or she knows a lot about art at least, and I'm so excited for this one. I've heard good things about it. So, but it will be kind of my dose of poetry or nonfiction, whatever it turns out being. And I will tell you what I am currently reading right now. I don't want to overload myself with stuff to read. Like I said, it takes me a while to get through things, but what I'm reading right now is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. And this was just kind of an out-of-the-blue pick for me. I saw it was on Scribd, and I was like, you know what? This could be kind of fun. I've tried Agatha Christie books in the past, haven't loved them, thought they were interesting, but this, I'm about 5-6 chapters in, and I'm already so engrossed. I haven't been this engrossed in a mystery in such a long time. I just think the characters are so interesting. Agatha Christie is so good at description. I'm just so excited to finish this book. And it's a shorter book too. I'm trying to kind of stagger shorter books with longer books, especially since I'm giving myself The Great Hunt this month, and I know that's going to be a bit of a monster. I think that is where I will leave it off for today because I don't want to overload you or myself. And I think that's enough for now. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please let me know what your TBR is for the next month or so. What are you reading right now? What do you want to read? If you've read any of these books, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to know your thoughts. So yeah, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as always. It would make my day. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.